Hello, Dr. Fazioli. Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about medievalism in European right wing politics. My focus is on how far right movements use images, symbols, and ideas from the Middle Ages to support their political messages. This is not really about medieval history itself, but about how history is used and misused in the present. Before looking at examples, I want to explain why this topic is important. Neil Basu, the former Assistant Commissioner for Counter-Terrorism in London, said that the far right is the fastest growing terrorist threat in the UK. And this shows that far right extremism is not just about opinions, but can also lead to real violence. So it is important to understand the symbols and stories these groups use to make their ideas seem acceptable. A clear example can be found in France. Jean-Marie Le Pen, the former leader of the far-right National Front, or Front National, claimed that real French identity is only valid if it can be tracked back to Clovis, a king from the 5th century. His daughter, Marine Le Pen, continues this idea today. I'm sorry. She marches every year to the statue of Joan of Arc, a figure we learned about in class, a medieval national heroine, to honor what she calls proper French identity. By this, she means an identity that is white, European, and Christian. Even her niece, Marion Maréchal, has been compared to Joan of Arc, and this shows how medieval figures are used to claim that the far right is the true owner of French history and identity. Another very important example is the use of the Crusades. Historically, the Crusades were a series of military expeditions between 1095 and 1271. On these expeditions, their goal was to control the Holy Land. Today, groups like the English Defence League use Crusader imagery very heavily. They often use the cross of St. George, a red cross on a white background, and images of medieval knights. The EDL, English Defence League, members even sing songs like Keep St. George in My Heart. The EDL founder called himself Lionheart, referring to Richard the Lionheart, a famous Crusader king. Other groups like Knights Templar International also use medieval knight imagery to support anti-Muslim and anti-immigration views. So the question is, why do far-right groups use medieval symbols so often, even across different countries? The answer lies in what medievalism offers them politically. First, medievalism provides ethno-symbols. Far-right groups imagine the Middle Ages as a time of racial purity, when Europe was supposedly only white and Christian. This period is mythologized. I'm sorry. It's mythologized as a golden age that has been lost because of immigration and globalization. Second, although many medieval symbols are Christian, they are not used in a religious way. Instead, they mark a boundary between the so-called true Europeans and outsiders. This creates a clear us versus them divide between ethnic Europeans and migrants or Muslims. Thirdly, medievalism gives historical legitimacy. By claiming descent from the Crusades, far-right groups present their actions as part of a long historical struggle. As the historian Eric Hobsbawm said, history can be used to legitimize action. The most disturbing aspect. Sorry, I went too far. The most disturbing aspect is that medieval symbolism can justify violence. During the Crusades, violence was explained as a defensive and just war. Far-right groups use the same argument today, claiming they are only defending culture and identity. This is not a new strategy. In the 1930s, the Nazis also used medieval imagery, rebuilt castles, and portrayed leaders as knights. For example, famously Adolf Hitler. This helped normalize radical ideas and supported beliefs in racial superiority. To conclude, medievalism is attractive to far-right groups for several reasons. The Middle Ages are seen as European heritage, which makes these symbols seem normal and harmless. They also help build international connections, even though these groups claim to be anti-globalist. Most importantly, medieval imagery allows extremism to be hidden behind tradition and history. This makes far-right ideas more appealing and harder to recognize as extremist. Thank you for listening.